Hello and welcome back to the Oh No 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 podcast, where the race for fourth place is now entering the final furlong. Having dispatched Falkirk last weekend, Raith Rovers are now facing Greenock Morton, a side who will be looking to keep themselves in contention, as both sides are keeping an eye on Friday night as well with how things are going to go along at Firhill. Now, needless to say, it's all to play for at Starks Park this Saturday. I'm your host, Robbie Weir, and joining me, firstly, I've got the Homer Simpson, judging by his son apparently making prank calls to Taco Bell. We've got Alan Douglas-Munn. How you doing, Alan?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm just glad that I'm here doing this, and it's the wife's job to sort that out.
Yeah, fair play. I've got the man that's now been described as hanging out with the Max Holloway of hospitality. I've got Blair Hopcroft. How you doing, Blair?
I'm very well, mate. Just about recovered for the weekend. It was great.
Good.
I actually listened back to our own podcast, something I never do. I enjoyed the 2 hours so much. I relived it again. It was great.
I mean, we're not those types of people, but listening back to your own podcast and not listening to anyone else probably sums up where you're at with podcasts in general, Blair.
Yeah, it's pretty much me to a T, yeah.
I actually started listening back to it again just to see how bad my voice sounded, and I think I got about half an hour in and thought, why am I watching this again? I was in it. I know what happens.
I like the gradual decline that you had over the podcast as your voice just got worse and worse, Alan. And then, of course, we've got the view from Barcelona. We've got Callum Smith. How you doing, Carol?
I'm doing fantastic. I am still on a high from Saturday.
Yeah.
I think my neighbours did not have a relaxing afternoon on their terrace. They certainly did not. It was, yeah.
I was
that
going to say,
last 10 minutes was amazing.
Did you have to hold the door to keep your boyfriend out on the bike?
Oh, he knows. He did. He wandered in and he squinted at the screen and he went, "Oh, that looks good." I was like, "Okay, it's 1-1," and I was like, "You need to get out. You need to leave." So he went back out of the door and waited.
Well, that explains everything. That really does explain everything. So, yeah, just Carol, just your thoughts to kick us off. Obviously, you didn't make the post-match podcast. Just your thoughts on how enjoyable that was last week.
Well, there's no denying it. The first half, up to minute 87, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't fun. But something changed in minute 85, and it was, this is it. We've got nothing to lose. If they go 2-0 up, then c'est la vie, but we've got nothing to lose. So it was great to see that pizzazz, gumption, all those words that we've used cliche on the podcast. And then those last few minutes, well, yeah. Although the guy not being able to jump over the fence is the funniest thing I've seen in my life. If that doesn't make
I think that's harsh.
For you this week.
Fence.
He's yeah, I mean, fair play to him, because he gets over the fence in the first place. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to tell you for certain. But yeah, it was more that the fence decided to come with him more than anything else.
It was
I love that. I saw on Twitter today it was following in his father's footsteps. One of Dario Valenti's sons was in there right in the middle of it, reliving his dad's youth for him.
Mm. Yeah, that family lineage continues on. Yeah, I think just a little bit that was picked up just in terms of Courier had an article earlier this week, actually. I just wanted to touch on it. It was with Callum Smith. Obviously, Barry Robson giving us a bit of an update. He's not going to, of course, be back before pre-season, but saying that we'll make sure that Rovers look after them. Was that good to see, Alan? Just sort of just a bit of an update on him. Just he does strike people as being a Barry Robson sort of player.
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, first of all, he seems like a really good guy. And I think he's a very, very useful player at this level. Doesn't he score an awful lot of goals, which makes him, a perfect striker for Rovers, really. But yeah, it's been really unlucky because I think, it's easy to see why people think he would fit right into Barry Robson's style of play, because he's a really hard worker. He's got a bit of pace about him, and he would definitely fit into the system. If he'd have been available all season, I don't think we'd have been having the same conversations we've been having about not using subs, because you have a guy you could bring on there who would absolutely walk into the system. But it's really good that we're still like that as a club, where we do look after players when they get injured. And I'd like to maybe, I mean, you'd imagine not too many clubs are going to be looking at him coming back from that injury and offering him anything. He's going to be. It sounds like he's going to be training with us. So I'd be all for offering him a short-term deal at the if he's back at the start of the season and see how he gets on.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where you've just got to really see the lay of the land. I think that for players in that position, it's naturally it's going to be a very daunting sort of outlook for him when you're placed in that. I know Ayr United have had the same with Anton Dowds. He's obviously, that happened right at the start of the season, so he'll be trying to work his way back to fitness. Obviously,
you ask for a better teammate than Lewis Vaughan as well to speak about it. You know what I mean?
And again, you look at Grant Savoury at Queen's Park, and he's had exactly the same support. If you looked at, I don't know if anyone caught the sort of tweet that he put out, but a lot of the comments from players that he's played with before, guys like Dom Thomas, even though he's not his teammate anymore, just saying how hard he's worked to get back to full fitness. So yeah, it's no. I think there's so many ACL injuries nowadays that it's no mean feat for players to come back from. There's not always a guarantee that they're going to get back to full fitness. So hopefully Callum Smith makes a full recovery, of course.
You contrast it to Callum Thistle last year. Who was their player that got injured playing for them, and then he had to crowdfund his own operation because Callum basically pinned him and abandoned him. It's like, seriously?
Definitely one of those ones where I think it's a real separation. I know that we'd had issues before with Callum Elliott, I think, was at the end of his contract, and we didn't pay for the surgery. I think it was along those lines. But again, it's
tough. I mean, I think it's one of the things as well. It's easy to criticise clubs, and quite often it's justified. But these decisions are made so early now. Do you know what I mean? If you've decided, which is what I think happened with Callum Elliott, the decision was kind of made. Right, we're not going to offer him another deal because he got injured right to the tail end of the season. So you're thinking, we're not going to offer him another deal. We're going to let him go. We've made that decision. And then he injures himself. And it's that thing of, well, so do we keep him around because he's injured? And yes, you probably need to because you need to help him recover. But when wages are so tight and it's tough. It is tough. But then it's about insurance and stuff as well, isn't it? Like players just I'm presuming clubs must have some kind of insurance for players to cover these kind of things, but I don't know how it all works.
I don't even want to think about the premiums that we must be paying on those.
Oh, God. Well, I was going to say, Callum Smith in the recovery room, he's not been lonely, is he? Let's be honest.
Well, that's true. Very true.
No, I mean, it's one thing to say, that, private health insurance is a lot cheaper when you get it through your employer. When your job involves getting injured quite regularly, I don't imagine that's still the case.
It's a big risk and it's a big premium, and some clubs and players can't afford it.
Yeah,
I mean, Lionel Messi can afford to insure his legs through Lloyd's, and was it Gene Kelly insured his tongue for Kiss for a random amount of money because they've got millions, but when it's up in, there's no way. Louis Vaughan, love him. Massive insurance risk.
Yeah.
Wouldn't cover him.
Aye, what a player.
Mark can really cope with it, to be fair, let alone the bloody insurance.
Oh, it's 100%. Anytime he's down injured, then you're straight away, you're like, oh, nut. But anyway, let's look ahead to Saturday. So obviously Greenock Morton coming to town. They are the only team, Carol, that were yet to beat. Do you think to a degree, I mean... We've always sort of derided Morton in terms of, certainly last season we spoke a lot about like their physical style, but they've definitely changed it up this season. Do you think they've been a bit of a surprise package under Dougie Imrie this time around, changed their play style, and to be able to sort of continually reach those fifth place finishes deserves a bit of credit?
They seem a bit more ambitious this season rather than just sheer thuggery. It seems to be, well, we want to do better than scrambling at the bottom. Let's try and scramble mid-table. And let's be honest, we didn't expect to be in mid-table. And I will confess, I had us at the top of the table all of last summer. We are winning the league next season. That's us. Top. Didn't expect us to be scrapping with it, but I think that's because other teams were ambitious. They were like, there is no big team come down this season, so we've got a chance. And Dougie Imrie seems to have motivated them rather than to just barge in to try and use a little bit of skill that is there.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the signings that Dougie Imrie did make. I think one of the ones that sort of jumped out in the summer was Cammy Ballantyne, if I can say his name correctly, coming in from Airdrie, because it's one of those ones where Airdrie had Megwa playing last season, and then Ballantyne's obviously deputising as well. To come in and get the performances that he's had out of him, he's made the odd gamble, the likes of Lamar Reynolds, and then you've, of course, got Jordan Davies as well in there. It's not been a completely successful track rate, but he's always got that ability to continually churn out, to get almost feels like the best out of players. I mean, certainly Oakley and Muirhead before, they're obviously getting mooted for sort of team in the seasons before, but then their careers were sort of fallen a bit by the wayside. One that's really stood out this season, Blair, is Ian Wilson. Do you think he's really the man that makes him tick? He's just came back from injury.
I was going to say, that's a recurring theme as well, isn't it? He's another one that's not his struggles to seek in terms of injuries. He absolutely is. He's probably the best player they've got when he's fit. It's the keeping him fit that seems to be the problem. He's always a bit of a thorn. He just looks so kind of, I don't know what the right word is, like unorthodox, gangly. He's just kind of, I don't know, he just doesn't look very aesthetically pleasing, but he does a great job at this level. So yeah, he's definitely one that we need to keep an eye on, provided he's fit enough for Saturday, which I'm presuming he will be if he's back, but then you never know.
Yeah, speaking of players that won't be fit, Blair, I'm going to stick with you because you made a wee comment before we went live. Morton are not actually without the troubles to seek in terms of the goalkeeping department. So both Ryan Mullen and Gary Woods have actually been ruled out, both of them, for the rest of the season. Very uncommon situation to find themselves in. So last weekend they were playing Sam Murdoch. He got in. I know that it gets frequently derided for lacking players of whatever club you support, depending on your performance. But he got into the SPFL Team of the Week last week. So yeah, just your thoughts on that situation, and does that make you a bit nervous, Charlie Cowie vibes? And also as well, do you think there's ever been a poor sort of youth deputy goalkeeper? Because it always feels like when you bring in a 17-year-old, they always seem to step up to the mark.
Oh, it's a shambles. Like if we started the week, like 80% confident that we were going to win the playoffs, or get into the playoffs, sorry, I should say, win the playoffs maybe, you never know. Finding out that they've got one goalkeeper, that he's 17, that he's played one professional game in his entire career, and he's kept a clean sheet. I'm like, oh, come on. Like, again. I mean, he's probably, let's be honest, he's probably going to score for a corner as well. Like, it's just one of them where you're going, like, can we just test him? Let's just make sure we get some shots away. Some Dylan Easton free kicks at the edge of the box, Jamie Gullen on the free kicks edge. Like, let's just test them. But yeah, I mean, it is an unusual situation, especially. Well, I was going to say it's not that unusual. We had a striker in goals once upon a time, but yeah, this late in the season, obviously, you're not bringing in an emergency loan signing for the last couple of games when you've got. I mean, I know they can technically still make the playoffs, but that involves us and Partick both losing both games. So.
There was a bit of a rumour, a suggestion I seen that they might have someone coming in from Dundee. Maybe I think it might be Harry Sharp. I'm not sure, but yeah. Well, obviously he came up a wee bit just chatting about that Dundee game. But yeah,
does this mean they have no sub goalie either? So they're just relying on 117.
It's not unless the sub goalie's 15 and even better. Then that's a terrifying prospect if there ever was one.
I don't think they had a goalie on the bench on Saturday. No, from the look of it, I don't think they did.
But it's one of those ones where anytime you come up against this situation, you look back all the way, even to Brian Potter, for example. I'd imagine the Airdrie fans were sitting there saying, how the fuck have we not made it to a cup final against a 17-year-old goalkeeper? But yeah, just the Charlie Cowie vibes are in full swing going into this one. Alan, just to come to yourself, just in terms of the winter window, obviously after Filip Stuparevic got injured, Morton brought in Tommy Adeloy. Seems a bit of an enigma. He's obviously not been without his injury issues, which I think Blair was the one that rightfully said right before he signed, like, why hasn't they picked him up? But then he continues to get on the goal sheet, or goal trail even. Just your thoughts on him, and just going into Saturday, just Morton in general.
They're a funny one. I mean, he can score goals at this level. I don't think he's a top championship striker from what I've seen of him, which is not very much, to be honest. He was sat without a club for a long time for a reason. That he training with Thistle, they didn't take him on. Obviously he did reasonably well in his kind of previous spell with Ayr, but and he's decent at this level. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Morton themselves, they're a funny team because you look at our record against them this year, and you're thinking it's rubbish. But other than the first game at Capello that we lost 2-0, there's been nothing in it. We were terrible first half against them in the last game at Starks. Came back to 2-2. Probably should have gone on and won the game, and then got hit with a sucker punch. Leading 3-1 down there a few weeks ago. Absolutely should have gone on and won the game and got hit with 2 sucker punches. So I don't see that there's nothing to be feared for Morton. If our team turn up on the day and play as we can, we'll beat them. I don't think it's going too far to say that player for player our team is better than theirs. But that's not how football works. and we've all watched Rovers long enough to know that that's not how it works. I think if they are going with a 17-year-old in goals, it must change the way they play. Their defence are going to be fully aware that they need to protect the guy. So I'm not saying they're necessarily going to come for the off and play for a draw, but they're not exactly going to be coming out at us and leaving room in behind. So it then comes down to, can we break them down? I don't know. Was the answer to that one, I suppose?
Yeah, I think as well, given the way that we played against Falkirk last week, when we were very much the underdogs for a large chunk of the game, right until probably that sending off at which it turned itself completely on its head. It's really hard to know what to expect from Morton coming to Starks on Saturday. They obviously need a win. Like, there's no other result for them. And I know that they're a very, very long shot of getting to the playoffs, but it's still a shot. It's not mathematically impossible. And that's what Dougie Imrie is going to be hammering home at the moment. And I'm sure from their perspective, they'll be sitting there saying, well, we've got nothing to fear because we're unbeaten against them. We've picked up, 7 points off them so far. And from their perspective, they're probably saying it was unlucky that it's not 9 points given that we scored the last minute equaliser. I do take your point, though, about that last game at Starks, because I'd completely forgotten until this week when Dougie Imrie was greeting the press about refereeing decisions going against them. I'd completely forgotten about the one with Jack Hamilton, where the ball was like hooked and it looked like it was from behind the line and got cleared off. And we even had the tannoy music going. But again...
No, I actually spoke to a couple of Morton fans in a petrol station after that game, and one of them, I think their dad was a photographer, and said he was on the line, and he said it was definitely over the line. That was his view on it. The interesting, the kind of noises coming out of the Morton fans seem to be that they're all fairly convinced Imrie's away in the summer as well, which is interesting.
There's talk of Partick. I've seen that pick up a bit of steam this week. Him going to Partick was mentioned. I think it'll be really interesting, actually, because there's every chance, depending on the result on Friday night, we could go into this game with Morton having absolutely nothing to play for. Because if Partick beat Falkirk, Morton can't catch them. Do you know what I mean? We can, but Morton can't. So that might have a bit of an impact on the game as well, to be fair. I think, actually, a point, I think, a draw, they can still catch them if it's goal difference. But it'll be interesting. I think Dougie Imrie's, he's a funny manager because I don't think Barry Robson's going to, this is going to sound terrible, I don't think he's going to outsmart him, because I don't think he does anything particularly clever. And I don't honestly mean that as a bad thing. He does the basics, and he does them really well, and he gets a tune out of his teams. They're not always pretty, but... it's effective.
It's that old cliche, innit? He gets his team working hard, but at this level, that's what you need. That's how you grind out results.
There's quite a bit of similarity between him and Robson, I think, actually. I think Robson's is more tactically astute. I genuinely think he is, but there is a lot of similarities in terms of the way that they kind of approach this league. So it could be an interesting game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you look back to the games against Morton so far this season, I think in every single game, I think we've conceded goals through the middle. So I definitely feel that's something we really need Scott Brown and Ross Matthews to be sort of on their A game for this one, just to really make sure that we're not getting cut through, because that's a real frustration, particularly when you're sort of seeing the same repetitions happen time and time again, obviously. Far be it from me to tell them how to play a game of football, but it's one of those ones where it is sort of very visible. Obviously, as I say, Carol, Morton's still unbeaten against us. Do you think that'll maybe have a psychological impact for us? Just really wanting... I noticed the Race Stats Twitter page after their celebratory Saturday night were back full swing Sunday through to now. They were saying that the last time that we went... a season where we beat every single team in the league was 2010, 2011, and the time before that I think was 1994-95 when we won the League Cup. So yeah, how important do you think it is to sort of going into this game that we're strong against a Morton side who arguably have the psychological advantage that we've not beaten them yet?
I think there'll be a little bit of that. It's the last scalp we need to get, the last sticker for the sticker book. But I do think we're on a high and our players seem really motivated, and it's the playoffs or nothing, and it's the last two games and everyone seems to be up for it and our players seem to be motivated. So yes and no, I think it will play a little bit into it, but I don't think that's what people are thinking about. I don't think they're thinking about, we need to beat Morton to beat every team in the league. We need to beat Morton to get in the playoffs. Yeah,
of course. Well, what we'll do is we'll turn our focus now onto the Rovers before we look a bit at the wider picture. So yeah, just Alan, do you think for yourself, is this maybe the first time that Barry Robson's had a bit of a dilemma after the end of the Falkirk game, or do you think he's going to be steadfast in the way that he operates? Because we know what he's like. We know that he loves retaining the same.
This is we try and get a big 20-minute conversation about team selection, right?
Blair, the longer that we keep this going, the better.
So before we do team selection, I've got a random... Are any of our players close to being suspended because they've collected too many yellow cards?
Well, being the absolute dweeb that I am, I think that Scott Brown is the closest. I'm sure it got put up on Pie and Bovril. I think it was on like 9 or 10. I think Ross Matthews is maybe on something like 7 or 8.
Does that carry over to the playoffs?
I have no idea, to be honest. Right. But I'm sure that Tex Rover is currently just hitting his keyboard just to tell us in the comments section. So
if you want an answer, you can just wait. I said Gene Kelly instead of Gene Simmons, so I'm fully expecting a list of corrections in the YouTube comments.
I never even noticed.
I did, but I just kept quiet. But yes, it's...
I noticed right after, and I've been waiting for a moment to correct. So.
That's fair enough, Adam. That's all right. I'm just happy the runtime's getting increased because we've got Hee-Haw to talk about. But Alan, back to you. The second half performances, because there was a few players that came onto the pitch. Obviously, we've waxed lyrical about Aidan Connolly. Naturally, there's going to be a lot made about Aidan Marsh, but then at the same time, you can't just really drop Lewis Vaughan out the equation, can you?
No, I think in terms of attacking, I think what last week did was show Barry Robson that you can give Aidan Connolly, you can give Marsh a bit more time, and they'll come on and they can affect things. I think from a starting lineup point of view, I think the real potential for changes, Sean Byrne. He was outstanding when he came on last week, and you were talking about players, kind of Morton in particular, having got through the middle of us in previous games. If you're looking for a player to stop that, Sean Byrne's your man. Like, he's the guy who can just sit there and cut that off and let Matthews or Brown, if one of them's with him, kind of go and do the kind of crazy running about the pitch part. So that for me is the kind of real potential, and I'd probably lean towards making the change. If you'd asked me before last week, I'd have probably leaned towards maybe Matthews dropping out and Byrne and Brown playing together. But I thought Matthews was outstanding last week as well, and I would probably, I can't even believe I'm saying not starting Scott Brown, but I would be tempted to go with Matthews and Byrne in the midfield.
But then we'd be missing the drive of Scott Brown at the heart of the midfield. What would your thoughts about that be, Blair?
I've said this already. Like I don't think Sean Byrne plays if we play a back three. I think it's too defensive. You've got effectively that extra body at the back, and then an extra body in front of him. And I think that was a big part of why Sean Byrne came on and did so well on Saturdays. That we moved to a back two at that point, but we kind of did take that third centre half out, and so you need that protection sitting in front. I'm just not sure that he drops any of the back three. No. Maybe. I mean, to be fair, there's every chance that he goes to a back four. He could just move Doherty over. He doesn't have to actually take one of the back three out. But it does mean effectively removing Mullen. And I think that might be an avenue for a bit of success, actually, against Morton, is that kind of deep lying cross that we get, kind of the same way we got Hamilton.
That they started with the 17-year-old as last week, do you think?
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I feel like we're going to pepper the box. Like, and we need to pepper the box. So stick Fordyce up front.
And it does mean you probably do want Mullen getting a bit more forward, and it's going to be that kind of three that turns into a four with Mullen getting forward. Yeah, and I suppose that's where if you've got Byrne in there, it lets Hanlon stay out on Stevenson's side and not have to tuck in as much, and it lets
totally. And I think that's just where you end up with Sean Burns. It's too many bodies. Like he's not offering you enough coming forward, probably.
He showed last week, but he was shooting.
No, I mean, again, you saw that on Saturday. The ball came out him on the edge of the box, and you went, "Oh no, Sean Burns."
I think as well, you've got.
that would be just the glory if he scored. It's like just do that, just the icing on the cake.
He's getting the winner in the playoff final.
Bouncing off his backside.
I definitely would take that. It's I think as well, you've got to really, with the Morton team, the way that they lined up last week. I mean, they started with a midfield, the sort of free in midfield. They had Gillespie and Blues along with Ali Crawford. So I know their fans are a bit their fans aren't too kind, I would say, particularly to Ali Crawford in terms of his contribution. I think he did score a few weeks ago when he was playing against Livingston, but as far as I'm aware, I might be wrong about this, but I don't think he's set the heaven alight too much. But certainly with Cammy Blues, like he's one of those midfielders. It just feels like he's had one of those seasons where he's always hitting the back of the net. And we all know what Grant Gillespie's about in terms of his contribution into that team and what he can offer. So really try to be able to sort of stretch that midfield and be hopeful that we can kick on and be able to do that. But I think that we would need Scott Brown in there to do and to be able to sort of utilise that. Blair, a bit of a different question now. How much do you think the game on Friday is going to influence sort of the atmosphere going into this one? And
potentially massive.
Yeah, just because I've got visions. You know what it's like with Rovers when you see another team squander a lead. And I know that it's been it's a Scottish Championship thing. Seems to happen with every team. Where the team on the Friday that you're looking to drop points has a stinker, and then on the Saturday you have the stinker as well. I'm sure it happened a few times with Dundee United last season. I think when the second game at Queen's Park away.
Yeah, I mean Alloa at home the years ago. I keep coming back to it, but it's just that kind of, it's all in your hands, and you just have to go out there and do it. I mean, there's every chance that Friday night Falkirk finally find some bottle and batter Partick, because Partick are in no great form at all. So there's every chance that Falkirk batter Partick, win the league, and effectively that wipes out Morton's chance of actually doing anything. So that kind of takes them out the running. It doesn't at all, actually. It's the other way around, isn't it? It keeps them in the hunt. So it actually makes it an even bigger game. But it heaps a load of pressure on us to get something. But weirdly, at that point, if Falkirk do win, a point suddenly isn't the worst result for us on Saturday, because then you go into the Queen's Park game knowing it's in your hands, which is ultimately all we need, hopefully, to get over the line, is going into Queen's Park knowing that we're in control, kind of thing. it'll be really interesting. It'll be interesting to see the lineup that Morton play, because I mean, I was just having a look there at the team he played against Airdrie. I mean, Owen Muffet sitting on the bench. I know that Ian Wilson came on quite late on, but I mean, I would kind of expect him to have the footballers playing more against us, than what he did against Airdrie. But it's going to be really interesting. But it's going to be a really strange atmosphere, because it's got the potential to be one of them. If you get an early goal, the crowd get right behind them, and it becomes 3 or 4. But there's also that thing of, we don't get an early goal, or even worse, they get an early goal, and then it gets a bit nervy and a bit tetchy, and the south stands kind of getting a bit restless, and kind of that can kind of make players rush, and all these kind of things that can happen. There's so much can happen, and actually the fact that it'll all happen, well, no 24 hours before, but the day before, we'll go into this game knowing way more about what we need to do than what we do now. It's a really weird proposition, actually.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at the game on the Friday night, because we're in that position where you look back to December and we were 11 points behind, and now we've reached that even keel, and you spend a week basically thinking but what happens if, whether it's a win, a loss, or a draw for Partick between them and Falkirk, because it's almost like even a draw would actually be a good result, because that would mean that Falkirk don't put themselves in a position where the goal difference sees them pick up the title. That means that Partick then have to go to Livingston on the final day. If Livingston have picked up a result on Saturday as well, that means that they've jumped up to go level with Falkirk. So it's really, and then you sit there and you think, I'm probably thinking about this far too much, because it'll get to that position where Morton will rock up and just fucking stick a pin in it, and we'll go fully United and have our bubble burst.
It's really weird in terms of something that I've thought that just popped into my head, and how mental it is that we're in a position where 2 wins out of 2, in theory, might not be enough if Partick win their 2 games. But also, the flip side of that is we could lose them both, and it could be enough if Partick lose by more than us. It's mental. Yeah. It's absolutely mental.
What's even more ridiculous is we could win our next 2 games. Now, this is the hugely, hugely unlikely situation. We win our next 2 games, and we actually win by more than Partick do, to the point that we overtake them on goal difference. But it's just...
But it's the flip, though. I was thinking about this earlier. It's exactly what Alan just said. If Falkirk win 6-0 tomorrow, right?
We're 4th, yay!
Yeah, we're 4th. And we could lose and still be 4th. And then we could go to Queen's and lose and still be 4th. And they could lose and we'd still be 4th. It's like, I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
What did we get here? Because a few weeks ago, it was like this game was done, and it was going to be like a dead rubber, and no one was looking forward to it. And it was like, why am I making an effort for this? I was planning, thinking, right, well, I'll go away for the weekend, because it's a non-existent game.
I made plans for next Friday. I'm not going to the game next Friday. I'm not going to the game. I'm working this weekend, and I'm going to a retirement do on the last Friday, the last game. So we need to make the playoffs, because I'm not going. I'm raging.
You better not be like
those. It was a done deal.
Yeah.
You better not be like those Falkirk fans at the wedding, where you're watching the 90th minute and you see the results coming in.
I went to one of my good friends' wedding and sat with Race TV in the middle of the table during the reception. There's nothing happening. The conversation was terrible. So I watched the game. I can't remember what the game was, because I did drink an entire bottle of Baileys and had to get carried home after the wedding. But I know Race TV was on.
Good effort.
Great game.
Tremendous. Carol, just to stick with yourself, a lot of the post-match interview with Barry Robson, and this was one that Blair even listened to, so it must have been a good one. There was a quote in there about how we've not done anything yet. How important do you think it is just to have that sort of cold-bloodedness, sort of just in terms of the manager, the players, just to be able to keep their feet on the ground, and while everyone else is probably getting far too giddy for their own sakes, just focusing on this Saturday, and regardless of what happens on the Friday night, just being pretty methodical about it and just ruthless, really?
I think one of the things that comes across Robson, he's professional. He wants it done properly, and he takes it's cliche, each game as it comes, and it is. We haven't done anything yet. We can't pop the champagne. We can't jump naked into the jacuzzi altogether to celebrate because we haven't done anything yet. We just need
Disappointing.
to. I know. So although those cold plunge pools, I don't think I'd want to go. Anyway, I think he's realistic and down to earth, but also someone else I picked up on the interview is that seems really impressed in how the club is run, and I think he's looking at this as a long-term project. He wants to take the club to the next level professionally, the next level in the league. But yeah, he's definitely got a long-term vision, and I think that's also what he means by we haven't done anything yet. Even if we make the playoffs, we still haven't done anything yet. That's what I got from it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the club, when you look back over the last few years, and just I wasn't going to initially speak about this, but one of the things, the Scottish Sun have a YouTube page where they continually put up interviews with managers or people involved in the Scottish game, and the one that they did today was Ian Murray, and obviously goes into detail about everything that happened with him and how he's left Rovers. But one thing that he did touch upon was that before the investment, when you look back to the way that the club was run before, he was really surprised when he came in because it was so far off what he expected in terms of where we're at. And again, that's understandable because we were in a difficult place. We didn't have the sort of backing that we do now. And just that there was almost an apathy that was sort of reigned through the club. And again, a lot of directors put time and money into the club, and that's obviously, they deserve a lot of credit for that. But at the same time, it's the new ideas and try to build. So yeah, it's really about where you look at where we're at now. I think if we did manage to get fourth place, I'd be really interested to see if we turn another profit. I suspect that there would be a good chance that we could potentially do it. It wouldn't be... I mean, we've had a cup game away at Celtic Park. With the prize money, it would be a couple of $100,000 down on where we were last season. But yeah...
I don't know. I imagine the win bonus that was offered to the squad in January to make the top four, because it's so important to the club to make the playoffs. I imagine there'd be a sizable chunk of that win bonus, effectively. Or sorry, the prize money that will be going pretty much directly to the squad, and possibly even, I would imagine, to the manager, because I would imagine that would have been part of the negotiation as well. Like, if you get fourth, here's the carrot for you, kind of thing.
Well, fingers crossed they do it. I'd be delighted for them if they do. That's why we're all here, and we want to see the club be as successful as possible.
Absolutely.
I know last season was, I think that a lot of outsiders looked at the club and just immediately dismissed it as a Fife Gretna. Again, that was something that Ian Murray touched upon in that interview. It wasn't nearly as extravagant as people might expect, but again, it's... I think the club have done tremendously well to turn a profit last season. Yeah. So anyway, what we'll do is we'll take a break. We'll come back after a word from Andy's Man Club, and we're going all into the percentage game. So we will take a break and come back and have a look at that.
Blair,
Yes, mate.
you're a man,
Yes.
and you have thoughts and feelings and emotions.
Yes.
Are you good at talking about all that stuff?
Well, I try my best, but I don't know. Probably not as much as I should.
I'm the same. I feel better after getting stuff like that off my chest, but I don't do it anywhere near often enough. Have you heard about Andy's Man Club?
They're brilliant. They create a safe space for men to sit down and talk about the important stuff. And they do it right across the country as well.
Yeah, exactly. They've got more than 200 meetings across the UK, and it's every Monday night at 7 o'clock, including one at Starks Park.
And if anyone wants more information on it, they can go to andysmanclub.co.uk or search for Andy's Man Club on Facebook. It's okay to talk, and now we're going to get back to talking about the Rovers.
Okay, and welcome back to the Oh No 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 podcast. So yeah, welcome back to the Percentage Club. So just one of the accounts that I follow on Twitter, one of the guys that's actually involved with Draw, Lose or Draw, that's Partick Thistle fan, put this in our chat earlier today. Steve Clark, not Scotland manager, Partick Thistle fan. 2 weeks ago, he had Thistle, their chance of fourth place, he gave it 98 out of 100. I think it was over 1,000 simulations on a programme that he runs. I'm going to guess that programme is not called Football Manager. But then now it's changed to being 2 in 100. So Alan, just talk us about through the current situation. Whereabout are you in terms of your positivity levels? I know that I'm going to come back to Blair about this in a minute, because you guys spoke about it on the pre-match for the Airdrie game. That was only 2 weeks ago. Just how surprised are you at where the current lay of the land is, given that there's 3 teams now still going for the playoffs, and how optimistic are you going in after last weekend's result?
I mean, I think last time I was on and we did these, I think I was kind of 60-40 in Thistle's favour, and I was the most optimistic out of all of us. I would genuinely flip that round now and say it's probably 80-20 in our favour. I think it's largely down to who Thistle have got to play, their poor form, and we're 8 games unbeaten. It's a really good run, and my God, if you could pick a time of the season to go 8 games unbeaten, hopefully 14 by the end of it, this is the time to do it. I mean,
Partick seem to have given up. Their fans and thing have written this season off. And
they've been giving it the can't this season just end. I mean, their view is, for the ones I see on Twitter, is a very small percentage of the fan base. I'm sure it's, some people would say it doesn't represent all of them, but every single one of them are very much just end the season now. Even if they get in the playoffs, they feel like they've got no chance of getting through even one round of it. It might just be for show, but I can see why they're feeling like that. I mean, the Messiah's turned out not to be quite the Messiah they thought he was, and
spreading himself too thin.
Got it for him.
And he didn't make it into the Terrace Patreon's top 10 managers in the lower leagues based on their playing career. Stuart Petrie got in ahead of him.
Oof.
Did Barry Robson get in?
He was 5. Number 5.
Need to have a listen to that one.
It's interesting, actually.
Scott Brown was top, was he?
Aye. Yeah.
Whereabout was Lennon? Second?
2.
Aye, they do.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
and if you thought about it, you'd probably guess the other 2 who are ahead of Robson as well quite easily. So
I'm not going to put that out.
No.
Not going to sidetrack our podcast. I'm sure it would be
not.
great for the timer going at the top there for me. But let's turn ourselves back to the race for 4th place. I know Blair, I alluded to it before. I went back and had a wee swatch of that pre-match Airdrie, where obviously you were less enthused by your chances.
That was the
were
least optimistic.
Well, to quote you the figures, you were sort of saying 10 to 15% at best, but you didn't see Partick dropping points to the bottom 2 or bottom 3. So just your thoughts in terms of the flip and how that's happened. Are we looking into it too much? Do you think it's just the way that it's gone about? Where's your head at with it?
No, I honestly, I think the ball's in our court completely. I'm probably more optimistic even than Alan now. I think I'm kind of 90-95%. I don't see, and I was really honest at the time. It wasn't about the Rovers for me. I thought we were going to do fine. I didn't think we were going to beat Falkirk, but I thought we were going to do fine. We thought we were going to pick up a decent number of points in the run-in. I thought this Saturday was going to be the biggest test, actually, to be fair, because I'd kind of written off Falkirk as a point at best. But I just didn't see Partick capitulating. They'd lost to Airdrie, but before that, they were actually in a pretty decent run of form.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the drop-off has been incredible. It's been really stark, actually. And I just don't see them getting... I don't see them getting 3 points between now and the end of the season. At best, I think they're probably on for 1 or 2, if they're lucky, because I don't see Livingston lying down to them no matter what happens over the next week, because they're going to go into the playoffs potentially with something to prove, because they're going to have a week off, so they can kind of go and they can really kind of keep the momentum going. I don't think they're going to do that whole resting players. I don't think they need to. I think their squad's a decent enough size. So I just don't see Partick picking up the points. So I've completely flipped. It's all about Partick. Because I think we're in the same position we were in as a squad 3 weeks ago. I don't think we'd do anything different. I don't know, Partick just throwing points away. It's a really strange scenario.
Killed them, didn't it? The Hamilton defeat
it's mad.
Absolutely knocked the stuffing out of them because nobody saw it coming.
Yeah.
No.
And just the fact as well that it was like a week later, Hamilton get that points deduction, which obviously they've appealed.
Yeah. I'd love them to get that. Honestly, that would be so funny if they got it reduced to like 10. Even just 10.
I can't see it happening. I feel like
it's so funny though.
I feel like from the way I was, again, listening to Terrace earlier on, the way that, again, is, and Sean was saying this, it sounds like the SPFL have just like, no, we've had enough of your nonsense. We're just going to chuck the book at you. Which, again, is fair, given John Rankin's apparently spent this week posting up basically his alternative table of where they are up in, 6th or 7th place, about the new Douglas Park, going full James McPake with that one.
Who's paying for the printing?
Don't know. Probably outsourced based on Aki's. You know what they're like. Just a couple of points that you mentioned though. Just with regards to the Livy, it's a really strange situation in terms of them because they've got a rest already because they are finishing at minimum second place.
They get that
free week. End up in the playoffs. They get the free week with the quarterfinals. Yeah. So what's the point in resting players? You want to keep your players sort of match fit. You don't want to have them 2 weeks off where they're just kicking their heels. You want to make sure that they're getting a good run of things. So even next week, it's not a sort of write-off by any stretch of the imagination.
Brian Graham wants to just kind of rake his studs right down Robbie Muirhead's Achilles or something. That would be really nice.
But even with them, they signed Thistle signed Alex Jakubiak. He's seemingly out for the rest of the season as well. So they're limited options up top.
Crashes go-kart.
To be fair, it's only slightly more limited than having Alex Jakubiak up top.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Just
We're talking about percentage different, like just like 1 or 2%.
Yes. It's marginal gains. In fact, actually, do you know what? I'm not even convinced it is. They're probably better off without him. He's rotten.
It's a Mitch's ball hair of a game.
Yeah, and then just the issue Alan rightfully pointed out before, just the Thistle fans, they just obviously seem to have given up. Obviously, I'm one of the people that listens to quite a lot, like to keep my sort of finger on the pulse in terms of what other clubs are saying and where other clubs are at. And they're just fed up with it all. They're just really looking for the next. I think as far as they're concerned, just with the fact that they've got the likes of Stevie Lawless, who's just coming back from such a long-term injury, really struggling in terms of their wingers, because much like last season, Dan Mackay's basically been out the whole season. He's perpetually injured. Stevie Lawless is obviously coming back from a couple of long-term injuries as well. So that's really left them with Fitzpatrick and Chalmers as their wingers. And Chalmers just obviously came into a game in the latter half of the season. They brought in Megwa as well, who's flattered to deceive a lot of the time. So it's really, they've not got a good record against the sort of the top end of the league. So it's all set up for Partick Thistle to beat Falkirk and us to get beat by Morton.
6 points.
Yeah.
It's just very hard.
It's a funny old game, isn't it?
It's so hard not to be absolutely buzzing, but then also realise it's such a monumental task that we've got in the next 2 games, even though it's teams that you'd probably look at and be like, well, we can definitely beat them. I'm fully behind the squad. I'd love it if we turn up on Saturday. Ideally, it's turned a draw on the Friday night, so that puts extra pressure on Livingston to sort of say, okay, we can go out and win the league, and that we can just get right behind the team, and that we have a really raucous atmosphere and get 3 points by hook or by crook. Carol, how are you feeling about the whole situation? You're obviously, again, like me, you're very much on the positive side of the happy clapper fence. How are you?
I was not spending this morning looking at flights home for tomorrow evening, but they're $400 each, so I'm not doing that. So they'll just have to get to the playoffs. 4 weeks ago, I would have went, there's nothing to play for. The season's over. We need to regroup. We need to lick our wounds and say goodbye to 24-25. Now, not going to say. I'm not going to say. We need to get the 6 points. It's in our hands, and we need to enjoy it. We didn't think we'd get here. We didn't think we thought this last home game of the season would be one of those. Thanks for coming. It's been a great season. We'll see you next year. Sorry about the fuck ups. Aye. But it's not. It's now something bigger. It's something to get excited for. It's over 3,000 home tickets sold. Make some noise, enjoy it. It's going to be a long, cold summer without football.
Unless we can extend it through the playoffs.
Exactly.
And
So
if we did get up to the top flight...
And get behind the team and they score some more goals, then we get to go to the playoffs. And yes, I'm happy clapping.
Yep. Well, there we are. And I'll be right there with you, Carol, because, yes, it's... it's probably the most exciting end to a season I think that we've had in the SPFL era, maybe other than... I mean, even by this point last season, obviously, things were done and dusted for us. We were sort of like, let's get ready for the playoffs. Other than that, we've never had a season where we've always been, if we're in the playoffs, we're always in them quite comfortably. We've never had one where we've been in 5th, 6th place, been furthered in the league at the start, hunted a team down and absolutely hunted them down to get level with them with 2 games left. They've got the top 2 to play. We've got outside of that. I think it would be a huge achievement if we do it. I don't, again, much like everything with Raith Rovers, I don't feel like we'll get much credit outside of Kirkcaldy for it, but that's the way that football works.
Expectations. I was going to say expectations are a funny thing. I mentioned this last week, but I mean, basically since August, September, there's been zero expectation on this squad. Absolutely none. And there is the potential that you actually go into the last game of the season with expectation. In terms of, like, it would be then ours to lose potentially. But then I still think even if we make the playoffs, we're rank outsiders in terms
100%.
of the 4 teams that would be there. So nothing to lose. Just go out, enjoy your game.
Enjoy the party.
Totally.
I think it's I've maintained for the last few weeks, since it became sort of feasible, I've always sort of maintained that it's as much... I know that you guys had a discussion a bit before about sort of like, is 4th place worth it when we can get the extra time in the summer to sign players? Now we're in that
back. There's a chance now.
Exactly. The more I thought about that statement, the more I was like, not a chance. You take 4th place because we'd absolutely be denying Partick Thistle 100 grand. And I get that they'll have Donald McClyman on the phone getting ready to prepare another statement about another tranche for another vote. But look, I think it would be a huge win for the club if we can get there.
Even with things like the money, I know, like the season. I know that we've got the utterly ludicrous scenario where ticket money from the playoffs actually goes into the parachute payment.
Yeah.
So that if you lose the playoffs, you're actually paying to help the team that's coming down be better than you next season, which is mental.
It's Scottish football.
You still potentially have 3 sold out hospitality suites. You've got the pies, don't forget the pies. We make millions for the pies. All of these things. There is still more money to be made from having extra games, and also the getting there and getting the extra excitement and the kind of keeping the buzz about the place that we've had for the last probably couple of years. It's very good when it comes to. Oh, by the way, season tickets are on sale again now. These kind of things. It just keeps the momentum going that we're building as a club, and I think. Actually, I feel like it genuinely, for the first time ever, go ahead of a Rovers game. I kind of feel a little bit of pressure on my role in it in terms of the music I play on Saturday can really set the atmosphere. Now, I know, obviously, what happens is the young team come in, start banging their drum, and nobody can hear a bloody thing anyway. But for the points where people can hear me, I'm already feeling that pressure of, you know what, maybe I need to give a bit more thought to it other than I'm just going to play what I like and screw the rest of you. I might actually have to start playing something that'll get folk going a bit.
Your impact is definitely bigger than Alex Jakubiak's would be.
Post it, miss
I'll take that.
Yeah. You've still to announce a Lewis Vaughan goal, so if there was ever a time, if there's ever a time for that to happen, it's tomorrow. Ideally, a 90th minute winner.
I make no promises that there'll be no tears in my eyes if I get to do that. In fact, I'll tell you right now, there will be.
And it was like 5 minutes in on a 6-0 gubbing of them, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to complain at that either, Carol. To be honest, the only thing I really care about is if we get over the line. And I think going back to the sort of the points that we were talking about as well before, it's starting to feel like there's a real unity between the squad and the play in terms of the squad. The manager's obviously continually sort of thanking the fans for their backing and sort of getting behind them. And then as well, just sort of seeing the fans and just particularly last week, I don't think you can overstate the celebrations in terms of like between the players and the fans and that dynamic of just the belief that comes from that and moving forward. So, yes, I'm not going to...
repaired a lot. It's repaired a lot of the damage that was done at the beginning of the season. And actually, it's a point that Alan just kind of made, but season ticket sales and stuff as well, like it's going to... I think even if we fall short and don't make the playoffs, there'll be enough kind of good feeling about the place that we're building something and we're going somewhere again, and like, you know, it's not a moment, it's a journey. It's back.
But you've seen how much we've improved in terms of points and results under Robson. Yeah. Not necessarily always in terms of performance, but you start thinking, if we appointed him when Murray left, where would we be now? And then you start thinking, well, you give him a full kind of summer and the pre-season to get his own guys in. Next season suddenly starts looking pretty interesting. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a very interesting season in the Championship next year anyway. I just hope we're not in it.
I am already preparing myself mentally to watch Jack Hamilton batter in 20 goals next season when he's fully fit and he's been solved of his injury woes that have plagued him for so long. Up top with...
That's for us though, right? He's not back at Arbroath again.
Yeah, he's not back at Arbroath.
And Louis Moult going off injured for Dunfermline, having signed a $5,000 a week deal with him or something like that.
Aye, I was getting pelters for the conjecture about or just the figures about Wanyama. Very defensive. Very defensive.
As if Wanyama's rocked up in Dunfermline for £1,000 a week.
It was the fact
doing
that
it out of the goodness of his heart. It's like a pro bono.
He turned down QPR according to the press so that he could go and play with Kane Ritchie Hosler and Matty Todd and could take in a dollar.
To be kept out of the team by Joe Chalmers.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
What they like. Aye. But yeah, it's the point goes back to Rovers though. I think that you're at that point where it's the eternal cycle as a football fan where you're thinking, but as the book says, always next season. You're always sort of looking ahead and sort of that optimism. It's the reason that you keep buying your season tickets and you keep getting invested in the club and you keep going along.
You cannot buy your season ticket. Not familiar with this concept.
I better explain this one to my girlfriend. Like she's get this one early, but
it's budgeted in early.
Oh, aye, 100%. Anyway,
I don't even really need one, and I'm still going to buy one.
Very true.
So true.
Very true. So we will, of course, look ahead just to that in the future. But let's have a game of Should McStay or Should Dargo. We're not going to do any timers this week. We had some feedback that the timers need to get binned.
Get that in the bin.
Largely by Blair. Getting the person dealt right away.
Can't cope.
Yeah, Carol, you've prepared this one for us.
Okay. Clue number 1. I am Scottish.
Eddie Malone. Said that in a long time.
I can't write these down. I'm actually responsible for this, haven't I? I can't just blank out now. Player Eddie Malone.
I am going to go with Laurie Ellis.
Okay.
He's got Hearts, isn't he? No.
Aye.
Is it Hearts?
Yeah, it was that.
He's just gone to Hearts, yeah.
Good guy.
Fairly certain I've heard him before, but just for sake of a random guess, Dougie Hill.
Always nice to hear him. He lost his job, left his job.
Yeah, left his job at Cowden Beef because he left it. It was basically told his budget was getting cut further, so he's decided to move on.
I think he's got a very decent business though, so he's no hurting.
He's a gas engineer, isn't he?
What is this? Welcome to the LinkedIn podcast.
Well, fun enough, I do know that from seeing posts of his on LinkedIn that I think was either Andy Barrowman or Dean McKenzie liked. So
you give some
I always remember he was one that
water in the south stand.
He was one that when he went full time just wasn't the same. He was much better as a part-time player than he was a full-time player.
Clue number 2. I have scored 4 goals for the Rovers.
4.
It's no Laurie Ellis then.
Could be Eddie Malone. Nah, he's not having any teams.
Could be Dougie Hill. I think he scored a few. So
4.
It's no Lewis Jameson.
How is Collins getting on?
Pish.
Not even a beat there, not even a breath.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a good way to fill airtime, is just to talk about the guesses. Yeah, a new favourite pastime is checking the Sacramento Republic results and seeing the Twitter responses. Now, I did, as I said, I did like Neil Collins, and I was a bit more positive about his reign compared to others. But yes, it's not started well for Neil over in California. Right, so it's 4 goals and they're Scottish.
Yes.
No Sean Byrne.
That'll be a clue in years to come. He was a player that you just wished would score.
Just wished he would shoot. Where did Pollock get? He must have had more than 4.
He had more than that.
Was it about 6 or 7? Something like that?
Yeah, maybe. What about Josh Mullen? I'll say Josh Mullen.
That's a potential good shout. Aye.
He must maybe know as much as 4, actually. It'd be 3 or 4, though.
I'm going to go with Ross Matthews.
Ross Matthews?
Oh, he's definitely got more than 4.
Yeah, I'm saying that, but I just want to get on to the next clue.
Move things along. Alan, are you sticking with Dougie Hill?
I am indeed, yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you an option. Do you want your era clue next?
Yes.
I'll
get off the fence.
I've had 2 loan spells and a COVID season with the Rovers.
Oh. Danny Armstrong. He'd be more than 4. He has got 2 loan spells and a COVID season.
We've had him before as well. Because he was the one that I got in the first go. Because Leslie gave the crests.
Regan Henry?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Aye. That's a good shout.
That's a great shout, Alan.
And just really nice to say his name.
Yeah. Scored against Partick.
Dunfermline.
Didn't he score a lot, did he? Dunfermline. Maybe he did get 4.
Any advances?
Nah, I think that he's got it.
I think it is.
A team I played for did a deal with a well-known sci-fi named-based beef drink.
Sci-fi named.
You were
beef
looking at
drink.
Bovril earlier.
This is your Bovril thing, isn't it?
I'm wondering, Forest Green, if they'd probably done something to do like a
they would have
vegan.
touched beef.
Aye, but a vegan Bovril or something like that. Is that?
Yeah, maybe.
There is vegan Bovril made out of beets that did come with a bit of green packaging on it.
I think Taylor's Bovril. I think your Bovril, your Bovril tale is giving you away here.
I'm
next
sticking.
clue.
I just batter.
Yeah.
A team I have played for have a unicorn in their badge.
Would that be Tranmere?
Yeah, it must be.
And I've played for Scotland at 3 different levels.
Got to be Regan Henry, innit?
Yep, Regan Henry.
Well done, Alan. That was
Alan.
That was
It was very good.
brutally efficient. Should McStay or Should Dargo?
It was basically, right, who played for us in the COVID season that was also on loan, and I was like,
Yeah. That was exactly where I went, Armstrong. But yeah.
Yeah,
Henry,
so he had
the great
2 loan spells, 2018, and then came back 2018-19, and then was signed as a free agent 2019-21, where he scored 4. Bovril did do a deal with Forest Green to create a beats-based Bovril to serve at their games. The team with the unicorn badge is Forest Green. They have a lion and a
Was it
unicorn
Forest
based
Green?
on the British crest. And played for Scotland at 3 different levels: under 15s, under 16s, and under 17s.
See, when you
Possibly
think
one
back
of
to
the best players I've ever watched in a
that,
Rovers
when you
shirt.
think back
I
to
thought
that
it would make us happy at the end of the podcast.
COVID season, just you look at the squad that we had in that COVID season, and it was actually ridiculously good. When you think back to the fact that we had him, you had Brad Spencer, who's obviously kicked on at Falkirk. You had Tate as he was up and coming and actually decent.
Brad Spencer couldn't get in the team.
Yeah.
No.
Ross Matthews, you had Gullen, Vaughan, Dan Armstrong, just off.
That goal that Matthews scored for the Regan Henry kind of slide rule pass. Oh my God, it was so good.
That was, obviously, I think we won like 3 games 5-0 that season.
Yeah.
And the fans weren't there to see it. That was the one against Morton. The only reason I remember it was against Morton was because big Nando Mendy scored his only goal for the Rovers.
He also scored.
I wish I could have seen that.
And I was there. It was great. It was a shame because he deserved an applause. Like he really did.
He's playing really well just now as well, I think, Henry. And he's back in the team. He's back fully fit. Playing.
I thought you were talking about Mendy.
No, that's where I was going with that.
No. I have no idea where he is.
Is that San Nazaire, which is his hometown club? He's still playing. So it's like lower leagues in France. But yeah, that must have been a surreal experience for you, Blair, though, just being in the ground for the COVID season.
Oh, it was mad. Really, really mental. But it was a team, like you said, it's a team that deserved a crowd. Although I did say at the time as well, I always kind of wondered if they played as good football as they played because they didn't have the South Stand groaning at them every time they passed it from a goal kick.
5 minutes. Yeah.
Get out of the park. None of that nonsense.
Change it up.
Just that. Well, Ali Moore did a couple of times, but other than that, it was fine.
It's mental to think that probably the most high-profile player that's going to come out of that squad's Timmy fucking Abraham being on that Sky programme. Like, all these kids watching him that are watching that ball league thing.
It's just everything that's wrong with... Like, you know what, fair enough. If folk like it, fair enough. But it's like when you turn on Sky Sports News. I genuinely, years ago, I would stick Sky Sports News on if I was doing something and I'd just have it on all day. And the only thing that would annoy me is after I'd been watching it for 2 hours and I'm like, it's the same stories. Like, I've been watching it for 2 hours. Now they don't get like as many professionals on to talk about the game. They get all these like YouTubers or they have this big show where they talk about fantasy Premier League for ages and have the top fantasy. It's like
youth, mate.
Fuck off, man.
Youth. It's the way of. I think that's the way of football nowadays. So it's just like you look at like the Talk Sport way, and it's that. Just some of the pundits that they've got in there. Who's the guy? They've got like one that's ex Spurs and one that's ex Chelsea, and I for the life of me I can't remember their names because I just obviously wouldn't watch it. But it's like the whole thing is that they'll go out and it'll just be like Scottish football's terrible, or this club got not like Aston Villa get knocked out of the Champions League. How funny is that?
Jason Cundy is one of the many.
Yeah, and it's just like all they're doing is just try to harvest reactions for advertising, and that's it. And you're just like, you obviously.
This feels a lot like man shakes fist at cloud. Like,
they were the ones there was a video of them watching the England game in the Euros in the pub when they got knocked out, and they were just sitting there greeting, and everyone, all the Scottish folk were just like, get it right up, yes.
Good. Anyway, we will be back post-match against Morton this weekend. Hopefully, we can recreate that 5-0 win with a glorious header. Whether it's Fordyce or Hanlon. Yes,
Doherty. I want to see Doherty score.
Doherty scoring would be good, but personally, I'd lose Vaughan for me.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm hoping for a lose Vaughan goal, final home game at Starks, and then to take us in on a win into the final day of the season.
We've still got another 3 home games after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
before glorious return to the Premier League. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to listen. Bye for now.